Hey guys, this is 1.6. I was going to say 1.5, 1.6 and 1.7. So what we are talking about today is properties of real numbers and algebra expressions. So mostly the distributive property, how to distribute something that's outside of parentheses through the parentheses, and then simplifying expressions, combining like terms, and then evaluating algebraic expressions, which is like algebra means there's a variable in it or a letter, and evaluating that algebraic expression means that you're going to put a number in for that letter. All right, let me pause and set up the notes. All right, so there are some weird spellings in this. This is commutative, the commutative. And associative properties of addition and multiplication. And then we have the distributive property. The distributive property. Okay, that's how they spell them, not that it matters. So commute, think of, we're going to talk about, let me introduce commutative, associative, distributive, which is the most important of the three. We're going to practice using all of those. And then evaluating, replacing, if y equals 3, what is 2x, y the second power minus 6 equal to, right? Okay. So commutative, I want you to think of the word commute like you're driving somewhere, right? You commute to school, you commute home. So commutative property is just the order or position of the terms. So 4x plus 6 is the same as 6 plus 4x. 2 times y, those are being multiplied together because they're either right next to each other or there's a multiplication sign that's just a dot between them. 2 times y is equal to y times 2, okay? This is the format you see it in because the coefficient is always in front of the variable. So you wouldn't have y times 2, you'd have 2y. 2 times y, we just call it 2y, because there are 2 of the y amount, right? So if y equals 4, that would just be 2 times 4, or there are 2 4s. Anyway. The associative property deals with the grouping of terms or who you associate with, right? Your friends. So here 1 is associated with 2 before it's associated with 3. Here 2 is associated with 3 before it's associated with 1. But just like up here, it has the same value. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6. Good. 7 times x first and then times y. X times y first and then times 7. All right. They are associating differently, but it's the same thing. I'm going to go all the way down to the distributive property because these are not important to practice, whereas the distributive property is important to practice because it comes back when you're doing things in algebra frequently. So distributive property means we distribute or we spread something out, okay? Here we have the equation, because there's an equal sign, A times the quantity, because it's parentheses, the quantity B plus C. A times the quantity B plus C. If we knew what B and C were, we could add them, like we added the 2 and 3, but if we don't know what it is, so we could add them and then multiply them both by A, right? And just say it's 5A. But since we don't know what B and C are, we can also distribute the A to both the B and the C. So it's just a different way to write it. This would be like the factored form, and then if you distributed the A, you would have, instead of A times quantity B plus C, you would say A times B is AB, and then A times a positive C is plus AC, okay? It's the basis for multiplying polynomials. We're doing a lot with polynomials in this class. If you take another algebra class, you'll be doing a lot with multiplying polynomials. When you're distributing, you want to always think about where the negative signs are and if you have correctly distributed them, okay? Negative signs are the biggest reason people make mistakes when trying to use the distributive property correctly, okay? So we're going to simplify expressions by distributing and combining like terms as needed. Here we're going to practice. Up here is just one term. So here we have negative times the quantity z minus 4a. You're welcome to look at this as a -1 times z minus 4a if that's easier for you, or just as a minus sign you need to distribute, okay? So -1 times z is just a negative z. -1 times a positive, sorry, -1 times a -4 becomes a positive 4a. So distributing that negative makes the z negative and makes the -4a into a positive 4a. That's how you distribute a negative sign, okay? Down here, we are distributing just the 4. So we have 4 times the quantity x plus 6y plus 4. 4 times x is 4x, okay? 4 times a positive 6y, you just say 4 times 6. Right now there are 6 y's, and then we're going to multiply that 6y times 4 others, right? So you had 6 y's, now you have 4 times 6 y's. And then over here, you have 4 times a positive 4. Okay? 4x plus 4 times 6 is 24 y's and 16, if I did that correctly. Good? Okay. Here we have a -8 times the quantity x squared plus 6x minus 5. Again, we can just go outside. The term outside the parentheses gets multiplied by every term inside the parentheses. This term is outside the parentheses. It's going to be multiplied by this term inside the parentheses, this term inside the parentheses, and this term inside the parentheses, okay? So -8 times x squared becomes -8x squared. Remember that we care about negative signs, okay? So -8. Next, we're going to take that -8 and multiply it by a +6. So it's going to be -8 times 6x. How many x's were there? There were 6. Now there's 6 times -8 of them. Okay. And then we have -8 times a -5. -8 times -5. Ran out of space. Does that make sense? The 8 had a minus sign and the 5 had a minus sign or a negative sign. Yeah. So if I rewrite it, I have -8x squared, -8 times a +6. So that's just regular multiplication. Negative times a positive is going to be a negative. -48. And then -8 times a -5. Negative times a negative is a positive. So -8 times a -5 is a +40. Oops, I forgot the x. That's another way to make a mistake. So you want to make sure you're bringing down the x's, bringing down the x squared, bringing down the variables, okay? So we have, I'll rewrite it, -8x squared minus 48x plus 40. Good? Okay. Now, here we have a 1/4, and we're going to multiply the 1/4 times the 12x minus 8. Good? Okay. When you have a fraction, remember that a fraction is just division. 1/4 is the same as 1 divided by 4, okay? So you're taking that first number and you're dividing it by the second number. And then you're going to multiply it by 12x and you're going to multiply it by -8. So what you can do is you can also turn these into fractions if you're doing it by hand, okay? So now that's 1/4 times the quantity 12 over 1x minus 8 over 1x. Good? You're also welcome to call it, I know this is a lot. You're also welcome to call it 1/4 12x over 1 minus 8 over 1. Sorry, I just made that up. Good? So you can put the x behind it in the middle, like that negative sign is in front of it in the middle, or you can put it up with the 12. Those are the same exact amount, because you're taking this term and you're dividing it by this term and multiplying it by this term. Multiplying these two, dividing by this. Multiplying these two, dividing by this. So now we have 1/4 times 12x over 1 minus 1/4 times 8/1. Again, just make sure that this negative is accounted for, okay? Don't account for it twice. Make sure you know where it is and you meant for it to be there and you know there's not, you didn't lose one and you didn't add one, okay? So that 1/4 is being multiplied by the 12x and the 1/4 is being multiplied by the -8, okay? Doesn't matter if you put the negative with the 1/4 or with the 8. I'll rewrite it down here. Oh, I skipped number 3, sorry. 1/4 times 12x/1 minus 1/4 times 8/1. And we already know it because we know the rules of, what's it called? Order of operations. But because these are being multiplied, you can even put parentheses around them, okay? We're going to multiply before we subtract because we have parentheses or grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication or division, and then addition and subtraction. So we're going to subtract the very last. We're going to multiply these first, right? To multiply fractions, we've done this before. 1/4 times 12x/1. I just wrote it 3 times for no reason. 1 times 12x, you just go straight across. So 1 times 12x is 12x. 4 times 1 is 4. Now make sure you can't simplify it. You can either say 12 divided by 4 I know is 3, so it's just 3x, or you can say put 12 into its prime factorization. The prime factorization of 12 is 3 times 2 times 2, and then the prime factorization of 4 is 2 times 2. Sorry, and there was an x, of course. Okay, and then you're just going to cancel out those that are common to the top and to the bottom, and you get 3x for this one, okay? That was all just these two fractions being multiplied together. We're gonna do the other one. The other one is 1/4 times 8/1, so there's no x, we're just doing numbers. 1 times 8 is 8, 4 times 1 is 4. Obviously 8 divided by 4 is 2, but we can also put it into prime factorization. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. 4 is 2 times 2. Prime factorization just means I made it as small as I could. You can't divide 2 by anything, so it's a prime number. So you just turn 8 into all its prime numbers multiplied together. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So 8 divided by 4 is just 2. So that original quantity, 1/4 times 12x/1 minus 1/4 times 8/1 is now 3x minus, keep that minus sign, 2. Okay. That was 3x minus 2. So that minus sign. 12x divided by 4 is 3x. 8 divided by 4 is 2. That's where I got those. Okay. We skipped that one. So run right back. -2 times the quantity x plus 2 is just going to be -2x plus -2 times 2, which is -2x minus 4. Good. All right. Now we're going to simplify the expression by distributing and combining like terms, okay? Combining like terms is if you have the same variable raised to the same exponent, you can combine those together, just like you combine 2 and 3 because they don't have any variable. 2 and 3 just becomes 5, right? 2x and 3x would become 5x. So do not change the exponents on your variables. You can't say 3x plus 2x squared is 5x to the third. Okay, that's not what we're doing. We're just combining like terms. X's go with x's, y's with y's, x squareds with x squareds. Okay, but there aren't any of those right now. So 9x plus 5 minus 3x minus 6. So this one will go with this one, including the minus sign. Okay, and the positive 5 and the -6 will go together. So I can rewrite it with those closer together. 9x, remember the negative goes with the 3x, minus 3x, plus 5, minus 6. The negative goes with the 6, okay? Now, I guess that would go for purple. 9x minus 3x is a 6x. And then 5x, or sorry, 5 minus 6 is minus 1. 6x minus 1, you're done. 9 minus 3 is 6. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Checks out. Okay. Here, all of these are like terms, and then you're just going to be minus 14 in the end. So 9x minus 5x is 4x, right? So that is now 4x plus x minus 14. If you just have x, that's 1x, okay? 4x and another x is 5x minus 14. Okay. What else? Yeah, just pay attention to the signs. So that's a 1x. And you're welcome to add them all together. 9 minus 5 plus 1. You can do it all at once if you want. Okay. Here we have fractions and like terms we are combining. X minus 1/3. So the minus goes with the 1/3. Plus 1/6x minus 3/4. So we have x plus 1/6x minus 1/3 minus 3/4. Okay. Now, how many x's is this? Just like this one was 1. That is 1. So we have 1x plus 1/6x. Good. I might need a different piece of paper. So I have 1x minus, or sorry, plus 1/6x. Change those both to the least common denominator, which will be 6. So that will be 6x's plus 1/6x. Does that make sense? 6 plus 1/6 is 7/6x. And then we have the minus 1/3, minus 3/4. Good. These, your least common multiple is going to be 3 times 4, right? Which is 12. So we're going to multiply this side by 4. We're going to multiply this side by 3. We're going to get negative 4/12 minus, okay, that's still a negative, minus, so you can put the negative next to the 1 or out in front, it doesn't matter. Negative 3 times 3 is 9, but that's negatives already accounted for here. And then 4 times 3 is 12. So now we have negative 4/12 minus 9/12. 9 and 4, we're going to combine them and get negative 13/12. Okay. Those together make 7/6x minus 13/12. Okay. Now, simplify the expression by distributing and combining like terms. Do not change exponents on your variable, but combine like variables. Okay. So first we're going to distribute the 8 and the 5, and then we're going to combine like terms. Okay. Always distribute before you combine like terms, unless the like terms are inside the parentheses. If this was 6x and 4x, you could change it to 10x, but it's not. Okay. So distribute. Then combine like terms. 8 times 6x. So if we just did 8 times 6, 48. 48x. And then 8 times positive 4. 32. Bring down that plus sign. And then we have a positive 5 times x is just 5x. And then a positive 5 times 2 is just 10. Okay. Now you can combine like terms. 48x and a positive 5x And then positive 32 and 10. 48 and 5. So now I have 48 x's and I'm going to combine them with 5 x's. So imagine 48 x's running around and 5 x's running around. And if you put them together, you get 53 x. And then 32 and 10 is 42. That was distributing and then combining like terms. Here we're going to distribute to the 4 to the quantity x minus 4. So 4 times x will just give us 4x. 4 times a negative 4, so positive times a negative, so it's going to be a negative. 4 times 4 is 16, and then keep the minus 11x. Now you can combine 4x and negative 11x. Uh, 11 minus 4 is 7, but the 11 was negative, so it's a negative 7x minus 16, and that's as much as you can simplify it. They're not asking you to solve it, just simplify it, okay? Here, we're going to distribute the 8 to the 6wz and to the 10. It doesn't matter how many variables you have after it, you're just multiplying numbers with numbers, okay? So 8 times 6, oh my gosh, 48. Why is that like my magic number? 48 wz, so you just attach the wz, good? And then you have 8 times a positive 10 is plus 80 minus, so keeping that same minus sign. Now, 8wz, you're going to distribute the negative. Negative 8wz, because that negative is outside the parentheses, you have to distribute it to the negative 6, minus negative 6. Okay? So, rewrite it as 48wz plus 80 minus 8wz plus 6, right? Because minus a negative 6 makes a positive 6. 48 is like terms with the 8. So 48 minus 8 just gives you 40. And then 80 plus 6 is 86. Good? All done. Here we're distributing just the negative. The negative gets distributed to the quantity 6x minus 7. So it's negative 6x plus 7, because a negative times a negative makes a positive. And here we're going to distribute the 10 to the 7x plus 70x plus 80. Good. Now I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 6x plus 70x plus 7 plus 80. 70 minus 6 is 64 x, and then 70 and 80 together, or sorry, 7 and 80 is together is 87. And those are like terms combined, so it's simplified as much as it could be. Here, the 7x stays the same, and the positive 27 stays the same. The 3 is going to get distributed to the 5. So we have plus 3 times 5 is 15, and then we have a 3 times a negative x. So now it's going to be minus 3x plus 27. Good. So now it's 7x minus 3x plus 15 plus 27. 7 minus 3 is just 4x. 15 and 27, 27, 37, 42. That is fully simplified. Now, evaluating means plugging in the given values for variables and simplifying using the order of operations, okay? Order of operations, again, is just grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. Okay? All right. So we have 2xy squared minus 6. The squared only goes with the y, okay? The exponent only goes with the number closest to it. It doesn't even go with a minus sign if there's a minus sign in front of that letter or number, okay? Rewrite it because I kind of confused the matter. 2xy squared minus 6, but we know that x is 5 and y is 3. When you're substituting, always put in parentheses, okay? So that x is now a 5. That y is now a 3. Everything else stays the same. So we have, instead of 2xy squared, we have 2 times 5 times 3 squared minus 6. Now you just simplify using the order of operations. Parentheses. We put parentheses around the numbers, but those are individual numbers, so it doesn't mean we need to do anything with them, but it does mean we are multiplying this times this, and that this is being raised to the second power. So we did the parentheses. Exponents, we have 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9, so that becomes 2 times 5 times 9 minus 6. So we did parentheses, we did exponents, no division, multiplication. 2 times 5 times 9. It doesn't really matter. 2 times 5 is 10, right? Oops, not divided by. Times 9 is 90. 90 minus 6, which is 84. Good. So when x is 5 and y is 3, this expression is equal to 84. Now we have 8x minus y z to the power of 3. X is 2, y is 4,096, and z is 3. Again, be very respectful of the parentheses. The x is getting switched with 2, so it's 8 times 2 instead of 8x now. Minus, what is y? 4,096. Use the parentheses. It just avoids confusion. I know it feels like an extra step, but it avoids small errors. Z is 3. So we're going to take y, multiply it by z, but y is 4,096 and z is 3. And raise all of that to the third power. But you might think I need to do the exponent now because it's the second thing, but the first thing is parentheses. So let's do all the parentheses first. Everything is inside the parentheses. The last thing we're going to do is raise it to the power of 3, okay? So just go left to right. If you see multiplication, do it before addition or subtraction. 8 times 2 is 16. Keep the parentheses. And then you don't subtract because that's the last thing to do. 4,096 times 3. 12,288. Good. Keep it raised to the third power. 12,288 minus 16 is 12,272. Sorry, 12,272. It's negative because the bigger number is negative. Raised to the third power. So on your calculator, you can just say times 12,272. Or you can say to the third power. Oh, sorry, because it was negative. Negative 12,272 to the third power. You get a number in scientific notation. So it's a very big number. Okay. I wonder if that was a mistake. Anyway, just like to put that such a big number there. Number 20. X is -2, y is 3, z is -4. Okay, make sure you're paying attention to the negatives, make sure you're using parentheses. So we have -2x minus 3y plus 3z. -2 times x. What did we say x was? X is -2 minus 3 times y, 3 plus 3 times -4. Good. We're going to multiply before we add or subtract. So -2 times a negative times a negative is a positive. So that becomes a 4. Negative, let's look at it as a -3. -3 times 3 is a -9. So it's 4 minus 9. Or you can say minus, carry down the minus and say 3 times 3 is 9. Either way, you're accounting for the negative by calling it -3 times 3 is -9 or negative 3 times 3 is a positive 9. Okay. And then you have positive 3 times a -4, so it's going to be a negative. That is a -12. So 4 minus 9 minus 12. -17. Good. All right, here we have negative 4z squared, negative 4. Z we decided was negative 4 squared. So this is why it's important to do parentheses, because we're replacing z with a negative 4, so it's negative 4 squared. Positive 16. If we hadn't done it, we would have got a negative 16, okay? Negative 4 times 16, which is negative 64. All right, the last one here is 7x minus y squared. X is negative 2 minus, okay, keep that negative sign. Y is still 3, so it's 3 squared, okay? Do exponents first. 3 squared is 9. Keep that sign the same. 7 times a negative 2 is a negative 14. Negative 14 minus 9, you can just combine those and you get 23. Sorry, negative 23, because they were both negative. All right, I believe that is all for this one. Thank you guys, and see you next time. Oops.